The truth is, people will always be both drawn to you and unsettled by you, both magnetized by your depth and bewildered by your silence, both warmed by your compassion and unnerved by your boundaries, and this tension creates endless confusion, not because you intend it, but because you were built differently, and the world is not used to different. In this video, we will dive into the 10 ways INFJs confuse people, not with judgment but with honesty. You will finally understand why others so often misread you, why you leave them puzzled, and why that confusion is not a weakness but part of your power. 1. Your silence speaks louder than words. People are endlessly confused by your silence, INFJ, because when most fall quiet, it signals boredom, disinterest, or discomfort, but when you go quiet, it is none of those things, for your silence is alive, filled with observation, filled with meaning, filled with an unspoken weight that others can feel even if they cannot name it. You sit in a room and listen, and people grow uneasy, wondering what you are thinking, what you have seen, what judgments you may be forming, because they can sense that your silence is not emptiness but depth, and it unnerves them to realize you might be perceiving truths they have carefully hidden. This is why some people find your quiet presence unsettling, because unlike most, you don't rush to fill the air with chatter, you let silence stretch, and in that stretch, people feel naked, vulnerable, as if you have X-ray vision into their souls, and while you may simply be resting in thought, they're left confused, wondering how your stillness can feel louder than their noise. 2. Your ability to see through masks instantly. You confuse people because you see through masks with a speed that is almost frightening, and while others can be fooled by charm, appearance, or performance, you, INFJ, intuitively scan beneath the surface, reading body language, tone, micro-expressions, and energetic shifts, until you uncover the truth behind the facade. This leaves people unsettled because they are used to hiding parts of themselves, used to others accepting their performance, but with you, they sense that pretense is pointless, that their carefully constructed persona crumbles in your presence, and they don't know whether to fear you or trust you. What confuses them even more is that you rarely call it out directly. Instead, you simply treat them according to the truth you see, not the mask they wear, which leaves them disoriented, unsure why you are not reacting the way others do, and sometimes even angry that they cannot manipulate you into believing the story they are selling. 3. Your compassion has boundaries. Most people struggle to understand how you can be endlessly compassionate and yet fiercely protective of your boundaries, because to them, kindness and self-protection seem contradictory, but to you, they are inseparable truths, two sides of the same coin. You confuse people when you listen with full presence, offering empathy that heals, yet when they attempt to exploit that kindness, you draw a firm line and walk away without hesitation, leaving them shocked, because they expected you to keep giving endlessly. They cannot understand how someone so soft could also be so unyielding, how someone who loves so deeply could also detach so completely, but this paradox is your strength, and it leaves people baffled, because they have rarely encountered a soul who can be both nurturing and uncompromising in equal measure. 4. Your vision extends beyond the moment. People are confused by the way your mind leaps into the future, INFJ, how you see patterns unfolding long before others notice the first signs, how you predict outcomes not through logic alone but through intuition, sensing the undercurrents shaping reality. When you warn someone of what's coming, they often dismiss you at first, confused at how you could possibly know, but when your prediction unfolds exactly as you said, they are left unsettled, unsure whether you are simply lucky or whether you truly possess some kind of foresight that defies explanation. This ability to see what others miss confuses people because it challenges their sense of control. It makes them question the solidity of their own perspective, and while some admire it, others resist it, because your vision makes them feel both seen and exposed in ways they did not ask for. 5. Your depth in a world obsessed with shallow. People are endlessly confused by how much depth you bring into conversations, INFJ, because while others are content with surface-level exchanges, you dive into meaning, symbolism, hidden motives, and emotional truths that most are not prepared to face. You confuse them when you ask questions that pierce straight to the core, when you notice contradictions in their stories, when you refuse to stay in the shallow end of connection, because to you, small talk feels like starvation, but to others, it feels like safety, and they don't understand why you insist on going deeper. Your hunger for depth confuses them because it is rare, because it is intimidating, because it forces them to confront truths they prefer to avoid, and while some will lean in, grateful for the rare intimacy you provide, others will back away, unsettled by the mirror you hold to their hidden self. 6. Your kindness paired with fierce intensity. INFJs confuse people because your kindness is undeniable, yet it is never weakness, for beneath your gentle demeanor lies a fierce intensity, a fire that emerges when truth is threatened or injustice arises, and this paradox leaves people unsure of how to categorize you. They are warmed by your compassion but startled when your tone sharpens, when your eyes blaze with conviction, when your quiet voice cuts through lies with surgical precision, because they expected you to always be agreeable, always soft, always accommodating, and instead they find themselves facing a warrior disguised as a healer. This duality confuses them because it does not fit the neat categories they are used to. You are neither passive nor aggressive, neither soft nor hard, but a fusion of both, and it leaves people disoriented, never quite knowing which side of you they will encounter, though both are equally true. 7. Your need for solitude despite loving deeply. People cannot understand how someone who loves so deeply, who connects so profoundly, could also need so much solitude, and this contradiction confuses them endlessly, because to most, love and presence are inseparable, but for you, INFJ, solitude is not withdrawal from love but the very soil in which your love regenerates. You confuse people when you give them your all and then vanish for days or weeks, retreating into your inner world, not because you have stopped caring but because you need to recharge, to process, to realign, and they cannot fathom how absence could coexist with devotion. To them, solitude feels like rejection, but to you, it feels like survival, and this misunderstanding creates endless confusion, because they mistake your need for space as lack of love, when in truth it is your way of preserving the very depth of love you offer. 8. Your refusal to conform. INFJs confuse people because you may appear outwardly adaptable, able to blend into many environments, yet at your core you refuse to conform. You refuse to betray your inner truth just to fit in, and this quiet rebellion puzzles those who expect compliance. You confuse them when you nod politely but never fully adopt the groupthink, when you smile but do not imitate, when you play along just enough to observe but never enough to lose yourself, and they sense this quiet resistance without always being able to name it. This refusal to conform confuses them because they cannot understand how you can exist among them while never being of them, how you can function within systems without being consumed by them, and this tension leaves you perpetually mysterious, admired by some and resented by others. 9. Your ability to forgive without forgetting. You confuse people because you can forgive with astonishing grace, letting go of resentment faster than most, yet you never forget the lessons learned, and this duality bewilders those who expect forgiveness to equal amnesia. You confuse them when you smile at someone who once hurt you but no longer hold the wound against them, yet you also never allow them the same access to your soul again, and this combination of compassion and discernment leaves them puzzled, unsure whether they are redeemed or still held at arm's length. This confuses them because most people either hold grudges or forget too easily, but you walk the middle path, soft enough to release bitterness, strong enough to protect yourself. And that balance is something many cannot understand because it contradicts the extremes they are accustomed to. 10. Your aura of mystery. Finally, INFJ, you confuse people simply by existing, because no matter how much you share, no matter how much you reveal, there is always a part of you that remains unspoken, hidden, beyond reach, and this aura of mystery both fascinates and unsettles those around you. You confuse them because you can be deeply vulnerable yet still unknowable, open yet guarded, expressive yet private, and they leave interactions with you feeling as if they have glimpsed something rare but never captured the whole of it. This aura of mystery is not intentional, It is simply who you are. A soul too layered to ever be fully understood. And it leaves people endlessly puzzled, trying to decode you, trying to define you, trying to place you in categories that never quite fit, because you are always more than what meets the eye. So INFJ, these are the 10 ways you confuse people, and while that confusion may sometimes isolate you, may sometimes frustrate you, may sometimes make you wonder if you are the problem, the truth is that their confusion is not a reflection of your flaw but of your rarity. You were not made to be easily understood, you were made to be deeply felt. You were not built to be predictable, you were built to be profound. You were not meant to be categorized, you were meant to transcend categories, to embody contradictions that others cannot reconcile but secretly crave. Yes, INFJ, you confuse people, but that confusion is your gift, because in a world addicted to simple answers and shallow identities, you remind others that humanity is deeper, more mysterious, and more complex than they realize, and by existing as you are, you invite them into truths they never would have discovered without you.